Alright, so we're here with our next session today. In this session, what our main intent is going to be is starting to work at some of our strength. Now, in the last few weeks, we've been playing with some squats to a target, namely a bit of a chair. We've been working on some getting up and out, some walking with it, and we're doing some weighted sumo deadlifts, so lifting the object off the ground between our legs and that crazy wide stance. So, using these two patterns together, this loaded hinge and this sitting down to a target, today what our goal is going to be is to fuse those two things together so we can get some weighted squats down to a target. We're going to be looking at doing a bit of front rack loading, so either in a goblet or in a front rack, squatting to a target stand tall. So this is really an opportunity to build on where we were and then to get a bigger stimulus out of our squats that we get in today. Okay, in our workout today, our play session, what we're going to be doing is some squats, some lunges, and glute bridges. So we're hitting the legs and all aspects here, the glutes, the hamstrings, and the quads are all going to get fired up. And we're going to be looking at supersetting these things together to really try and bring on a bit of muscle fatigue. Okay, we're also going to be spending some time doing some prone hurdles in our workout today, which are great for our bursitis, and hopefully they're going to help us loosen up our shoulders a little bit. These will be the same prone hurdles that we've seen in a previous session before, so these aren't a new movement for us. Okay, before we get started with the session though, what we need to head out for is a bit of a walk as a warm-up. This is a great day to get just some blood flowing with a walk. 5 minutes, and we want it to feel similar to what it has been feeling for the last few weeks. So we don't want to overexert ourselves, but we're also looking to take it easy. We want to try and match the effort that we've been putting out the last few sessions in this walk as well. Once we come back in from that walk, what we're going to do is a thing called a cross-legged flow, which is, again, it's quite yoga-y, but we know that you like the yoga positions. Now this here is all going to be done seated on the ground, so I'm just going to take a spot down here on my mats, and I'm going to move through the flow from start to finish. What we're going to do for our prep for the session here is to go through this flow 3 times. Okay, each position we're going to live in for 30 seconds, and we're just going to have a big deep breath while we're there. So how the cross flow works is we're going to start off with single-legged crosses. What we're going to do is cross one leg in front of us, okay, ankle underneath the knee of the other leg. You're going to put a bit of weight on that knee, and then we're going to breathe here for 30 seconds. Okay, if you'd like to lean forward into that knee, feel free. Give it 30 seconds this side here, then we switch sides. So my right leg goes straight and my left leg tucked underneath the knee. Remember, I can push that knee down there to increase the stretch. Once I've had my 2 forward crosses done, I'm then going to look at some backward crosses, which is the exact opposite. Okay, so left leg's going to stay straight, but my right leg is going to rotate that way and cross out behind me. Okay, this is quite tough. It may mean that we have to put our hands behind us to support us, and that's fine. If it does feel great, feel free to bring our hands in front of our knees and lean forward into it. 30 seconds here, then we're going to switch sides. Same deal, if this feels great, try a little closer, try a little closer, try a little closer. So we've done 30 seconds front, 30 seconds back. Then all we have to look at is some forward folds. So we're going to cross our legs, left over right to start with, push our knees down, and if we can, we're going to lean forward as far as we can. So this is tough in the hips. We're going to have 30 seconds here. Once we've had 30 seconds there, we're going to change the way we cross our legs and spend 30 seconds there in a forward fold. Most people find one a little more coordinated feeling than the other, and that's completely normal. Okay? The deeper you can get your knees down to the ground, the more of a stretch you're going to feel from doing these crossover flows. After we've gone through that flow 3 times or so, we should be feeling like our hips are loosened up. When we stand up, we can do some invisible hula hoops, so putting our hands on our hips and just imagine that we're rolling a hula hoop around on our hips here. That's going to give us a feeling of how loose our hips are getting, and it's good we check it before we go to the next part. Okay? The next 2 movements we're going to do in our warm-up here, one's called a death march and one's called a warrior, so they're super positive sounding names, but they're very similar. So what we're going to be looking at doing is thinking about hip direction, so like our wall bumps that we have been doing in our deadlift sessions, this time we're going to be doing it in a split stance. Okay, so facing side on to the camera, so it makes it really obvious. What we're going to do is make an A-frame out of our legs, so one leg in front of the other. And now from here, I'm going to mimic my wall bump idea, where I'm getting my hip bones to move as far back as I can while maintaining a neutral spine. So like a good morning, finger and thumb, moving my hips as far back as I can. I will definitely feel a stretch because I'm leaving my legs straight, and then I'm going to stand tall. Okay, I'm going to go again. I'm going to do about 10 reps on one side, 10 reps on the other, and like with our practice and prep movements, I'm not going super fast through these. What I'm going to be doing is taking 3 seconds down, 3 seconds up. Once I've done 10. Switch sides. See how this other side feels. Remembering it's all about hips back, even though it looks like I'm trying to bow forward. Okay, because I can bow forward and leave my hips forward, but I lose my neutral spine. So hips back, bow forward, keep my neutral spine. It's also going to increase the amount of stretch I'm getting. Okay, so the death march, straight on, straight on. The warrior pose is the exact same movement, but now we're going to be like a starfish, and we're moving side to side. So, like a sumo, feet are straight forward. However, this is 1,000 times easier if you point one leg out to the side. Okay? Now the leg that's pointing out to the side, you're going to shift your hips towards the other leg. Okay? So, warrior pose in yoga terms generally has its hands out to the side, and we can do that to help us. What we're going to do is shift our hips back, so my hip is traveling out towards this foot, and I'm going to be reaching to the ground. And then standing back up. Okay? Switching sides. Hips go this way, reach to the ground, standing back up. Okay? Really deep hip stretch. Giving it those 10 reps either side is going to be great. Cool. We're prepared, we're warm. You can pause the video here to get through all that. And now that we've come back, we're getting ready to look at our workout for the day. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is practice our squats to a target, and then we're going to start adding some weight. So in our workout, we're going to be doing 12 reps. So we want to make sure that we're pretty confident we're squatting to our target height. Now, a chair is a dining room chair. It's a certain height. Couches are generally a little bit lower. If you've got a box or a pile of boxes or a lot of books, you can make a tower any height you need that's going to be manageable for you. Okay? Let me move my chair to the side for a little bit. Now, remembering the first thing that starts a squat, and especially a weighted squat for us, is going to be hips back. That's the first action that we want to have happen. So, I'm going to shift my hips back, I'm going to hinge, then I'm going to bend at my knees, touch my legs to the chair, and then I'm going to stand tall. Okay? Remembering, hips back, knees, stand tall. The whole time my spine's staying neutral. If I have my palm on my hand and my tummy, they will never move or get spread apart as I do this. Okay? Let me show you a bad one just to make it really obvious of what happens if we bend our knees first. Okay, if we initiate with our knees, we come into the sway back position, and suddenly we're not using the hamstrings and our glutes at all for our squat. Okay, it also encourages the heels to lift in the squat, which we know is not ideal. How are we going to weight this? Now, if we found our dumbbells, what we can do is a nice little goblet or a bow tie position for our weight. Okay, so front loading the weight is going to help us with our balance. Also saves us putting in any funny angles behind the back of our neck. So what we're going to do is hold a singular dumbbell on its side. Now, if we don't have a singular dumbbell, a bottle of milk, a small box, a basketball, all these things can work here well. You'll see that I've got a nice little hand grip on it. I'll move close so you can see that. I'm just putting it on my shoulders, so each head is resting on my shoulders, and I'm pointing my elbows forward so it makes a bit of a platform for it. Okay? I've found my chair again. I'm going to find that hinge. Then I'm going to squat, then I'm going to stand tall. Now you notice that as I hinge, my elbows dip down. And that's A-okay. Okay? If I was to force them up to stay up, what would happen is I would get into a super archy position, and it would start to feel like I'm cramping at my lower back, which isn't ideal for us. We want to brace, hinge, then bend to go through our squats here. Okay? Now, over a couple of sets, what we want to find is the right amount of weight or the right depth of squat that's going to suit us the best. So if our weights are limited, changing the depth of the squat is going to be the best thing for us. Making it lower makes it harder. Okay? If our weights are super heavy, make the squat higher. We want to find that happy ground in the middle. After we've gone through our prep, we've found out what we choose to do for our workout, then it's time to look at our workout, okay? So it's 4 rounds. We're going to have our squats, exactly like we had in our practice. Our second movement we're going to look at is going to be reverse lunges. So we need a little bit of ground space here. What we're going to be doing is starting with our feet together. We're going to be stepping back on one leg and then standing up tall again. So I'm bringing myself down and back, touching my knee to the ground, and then I'm standing up tall. Okay? This is a tricky one when it comes to knee position, because unlike a squat, we can't correct ourselves with our hips side to side, watching where those knees are going to live. Okay, let me show you front on what I mean. This is how I want it to look. I'm braced, I'm reaching back with one leg, I'm touching my knee to the ground, and then I'm standing tall. Okay? This is what it could look like, which would be less ideal. As I step back, my knee caves in, and now my knee is on the inside of my toes. And reverse lunges are great for this because it allows us to look down at our toes to see if we can see them. Because right now, I can see in my camera that my knee is over my toes, but as I look down, I actually can't see my feet. So what I want to try and do is keep my knee out wide so that I'm able to see my toes, the whole range of motion of this movement. Okay, my other leg, watching my toes, watching my toes, watching my toes. Now, if that range of motion is too big, adding a cushion beneath the knee is awesome. However, if we're limited to what equipment we have, what we can do is give ourselves a bit of hand support on the way up. So as I step down, I can hold my knee with two hands, keep it in place, and I can push off that knee as I stand tall. And you will find that is a lot easier. Okay? Reps-wise, we're doing 20 at a time, so that's 10 each leg. There is quite a few. If you are brave and you start the first few rounds without any support and then have to add it at the end, that's okay. Our third movement we're going to look at is our glute bridges. Now these can be done on the ground. Let me show you how this movement looks. We are laying down flat on the deck, kind of like a sit-up, but instead of bringing our chest up, what we're going to do is bring our hips up instead. So I'm digging my heels into the ground and my toes are off the ground. And what I'm going to be doing is trying to make a straight line between my shoulder and my knees. So I'm digging my heels in, I'm making that straight line, and then I'm controlling back down. Okay? My backwards cap doesn't make this any easier. I'm squeezing tall, straight line, control back down. In the notes, you'll see that we want you to pause for a couple of seconds at the top, and that's great. If you can hold the top position for a few seconds, that's awesome. The muscles we're planning to target with this glute bridge are the glutes. So we're thinking about squeezing our butt as tight as we can through this movement. Okay? And the last movement we're going to see in our workout are our prone hurdles from the other sessions. So what we need is 2 cans, 2 small objects. I'm going to be using 2 dumbbells for demonstrations purposes. How this here looks is we've got to put them on the ground, and then we want to lay on the ground with the top of our shoulders being at the bottom of the object. So let me show you how this looks. Now from here, I put my hands up the sides. All I want to do is bring my hands over my head, like I'm diving into a pool, and then bring them back. 1, 2. You'll get a feeling as you do these, very similar to some of that bursitis prep that we do in some of our other sessions, because that's what movement is all about. It's all about scap control and mindful movement of the shoulders. Okay? This can also be a bit of a rest for our legs because we are kind of 3-timing them up with our squats, lunges, and glute bridges at the start of each round. So we're going to move through 4 rounds. Don't panic about intensity. It's supposed to be about controlled movement and quality movement, rather about fast movement. So from here, you get to go out and enjoy this session.